My name is Jessica Heiges, and I studied how to transition UC Berkeley's campus to be a disposable-free dining campus. So we're in the midst of a global waste crisis that has spurred a zero waste movement. UC Berkeley is an active participant in this movement. We have a goal to be zero waste by 2020. We have campus groups and student-led initiatives to focus on implementing solutions. However, and we even have a department of facilities that is dedicated solely to zero waste management. However, we only have a 56% diversion rate. So that means on campus, only 56% of waste is diverted, does not go to landfill, yet our goal is to reach 90%. So I studied over this semester how we can reach that 90%, how we can make incremental change to get to that goal. I propose that we do it through dining. So there are over 40 food services on campus, both university-owned and third-party owned. And through 3 waste audits at Chew Hall, we realized that 40 to 60% of waste generated on campus is disposable foodware. We also learned that 500 pounds of disposable foodware is generated per person per year. And also, unlike other consumption products, everyone needs to eat every single day. So foodware, disposable foodware, is an exorbitant issue, and that's where we wanted to start. So we conducted 2 pilots on campus for operationally and also to understand the consumer behavior change needs. Operationally was over at Brown's Cafe. And prior to the pilot, all meals were served on disposable foodware. During the pilot, if someone wanted to eat their meal for here, it was served on reusable foodware. Then at Cafe Think at Haas, we analyzed the consumer behavior component. So when someone eats at Cafe Think, they can have their meal on a reusable container, but anywhere else in the Haas ecosystem, it's not necessarily considered dine-in. So during the pilot, we decided to redefine that zone, that anywhere in that Haas ecosystem could be eaten on reusable food containers. And so what did we learn? That making this transition to reusable foodware is feasible and actually economically advantageous. So we had positive results, positive feedback from the cafes. They were excited and said it was easy to implement. We also heard from the customers that they were very willing to participate as long as it was convenient. We found out that there are 2 very important factors in this transition. One is the food service workers that make up the role of the reliability and so forth, and then the other is the point of sale system. So this is in the cash register itself, marking if it's the orders for here to go. And actually, because of that point of sale nuances, we weren't able to get sufficient data to analyze the pre-pilot and then during the pilot. However, what we did come to learn is that 4 to 8% of the orders during the pilot were on reusable containers, demonstrating that there's a huge opportunity for growth. We also learned that the cafes, if they were to transition entirely over to reusable foodware, they can save between $1,500 and $2,200 per week on disposable foodware. And that would reduce their food servicing by 40%. So how do we actually transition the entire campus to reusable foodware? I propose that by 2020, we need to increase the options and convenience of reusable foodware. Then by 2022, we need to have more pilots because not every reusable foodware program will work for every situation. And we need to incorporate it into pre-existing policies. So that's the vendor lease agreements as well as the UC sustainable practice agreements. And then also, the city of Berkeley just adopted a foodware ordinance. And I believe that the campus needs to take ownership of that ordinance as well. And then finally, by 2025, we need to fully integrate all of those reusable service models. We also need to ensure that the cafeterias are on board and integrated, and we need to take leadership as a campus to include the neighboring food vendors, as so many of our community members go there and bring the waste back. I believe that we can make this transition, and I'm excited to see it happen in the next few years. Yeah, Chelsea.
I might have missed why, but I was wondering why the goal is 90%, not 100%.
That's, for better or for worse, that's the definition of zero waste, is to have a 90%. And so that is the internationally defined definition of zero waste. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you looked at the labor cost?
Sorry, what?
Likely the big cost is the labor.
The labor, yeah.
Are
So,
there ways of reducing the labor cost that you've been looking at?
we didn't so much look at how to reduce the labor costs, but we realized that only one additional person would be needed at Brown's Cafe. Cafe Think could take on the additional labor. Like, it did not require any additional labor from their end. And so my projection is that any additional labor, if it's one or even if it's two, it would still be less than the 1,500 to 2,200 they're saving a week. But no, we didn't specifically look into that.
And the benefit was net of the labor cost of the increase?
No, it was not net. It was just the cost avoidance for disposable foodware. Yeah.
So it looked like you said there were 4 to 8% kind of orders on reusable foodware.
Correct.
That seemed like, you know what can be done is sitting on the demand side response. That seems like a really low demand as a percentage of total orders. And so it's going to be hard to convince people to switch over if people are asking to constantly take their food out.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think the onus needs to be less on the consumer themselves, but more on the systems around it. So that's why we need to start having the reusable foodware be the default option. We need to have the food service workers asking you every single time if it's for here to go, instead of just assuming you want to take it to leave. And we also need to redefine what the areas are where you can consider it dine-in. So even if you're bringing it back to Wellman, it can still be considered unreusable foodware. Yeah, Izzy.
So obviously you're leaving soon. So is there an indication that is there an indication that someone's taking over this process, and like, will this happen?
Yeah. So part of Cal Zero Waste, so that's the facilities arm that is dedicated to incorporating zero waste practices. They are actively working on getting it involved in the food vendors' lease agreements. So that is coming from the policy side, and the Office of Sustainability is taking on to figure out how we can incorporate the City of Berkeley's ordinance. And I hopefully will still be working on some of this moving forward and helping kind of figure out what we can implement. Yeah. Yeah, George.
Now, I may remember this wrong, but one of my first weeks on campus, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, someone, and I won't mention who, from the chancellor's office took me to lunch and said, oh, order it to go because it's cheaper.
Yes.
Did you find that? And
Yeah.
How does that fit into all of this?
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that, Kate and I, last week, because that's a very frustrating tax out there, because it disincentivizes you to stay and have it on reusable
We
foodware.
stayed anyway, we just got it on.
Well done. And so that's another thing. That's getting back at the policy, is how we need to fix that, because we can't have those systems in place that are really going against the environmentally sound route. Yeah.
They think that the saving for the cafes is 1,500 to 2,000, incentivizing the customers that if you bring your own box, we'll give you 10% off, giving things like that, like incentivizing both supply and the demand side might come in your.
Yeah, I mean, you do get it, for most cafes on campus, you get 25 cents off if you bring a mug. The only issue is that for food containers, you get into the health and safety, where you can't actually give them your food container because they're worried about cross-contamination. So you'd still have to get it on a reusable and then transport it, but maybe that then leads way for a reusable to-go container program. So, all right. Thank you all.